Good morning. Welcome to, thank you. Thank you very much for coming to WEBMANIA. We got this really great theater, and we're going to try to tell you about some products we're incredibly excited about and see what you think of them. We've got a whole day planned. I know some of you can't stay for the whole day, but we're hoping most of you can. We've got, I think, 4 more talks starting about a half an hour after this one ends. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail a little bit later if you can stay. We've changed our name, as some of you may have known, from Next Computer to Next Software. We've been a software company for 2 years, and we finally got around to changing the name. I am Steve Jobs, the Chairman and CEO. What we'd like to do today is introduce our WebObjects product family. This is, I think, one of the most significant product introductions we've ever had in our 10-year history. And we've been working on this stuff in many ways literally for 10 years because approximately 2/3 of the product content is stuff that we have been perfecting over those years and has fit perfectly in the web. And about 1/3 of it is extending some of that to specifically address the web. So these are very, very mature products hitting the ground very early on in the web's life cycle. As we look at the web, everything that's been done to date, sort of from the beginning up till now, we sort of look at as Act 1 of the web. And Act 1 has clearly focused on the browser. We have pages that get served over the web, and we can look at them miraculously from anywhere on the internet with a web browser. And what people have been doing with this is what we call static publishing. They have been looking at pages and navigating to other pages, but the quantum unit is a page. And these pages need to have been made up by somebody, a person or several persons, using one of many tools you can do to construct these pages. But once they're made, they're as they are until some human being changes them. And so when you're looking at a page, there's probably 300,000 other people who could be looking at that same page. It's not different for each person. It doesn't change as the world changes until a human being gets in there and changes it. And this very simple model has brought us a long way. Here's an example of a static web page that some of you might have learned about WEBMANIA from. This was our home page until yesterday. Here's another one. A guy named Rick Smolin, who did A Day in the Life books, is doing a day in the life of cyberspace on the web, and he's published a website. Here's Intel's home page. If you want to read about Pentiums, you can go there and learn all about that stuff. Here's another example of educational one, a college. Here's one of my favorites. So you can go to just, now hundreds of thousands of pages, probably millions by now, and see them just as everyone else can see them. And this is very, very powerful. And it's all focused on the browser. Now, when you're consuming this information on the browser, what you find is you want more. And especially if you have a PC and you use the PC for other things, you find that the PC can do things that the web can't. And that has to do with the user interface. So let's say you're using Windows, and you like animation in Windows. Well, you can't do that on the web today, as an example. Now, when you look at user interfaces, they all have capabilities. They all have capabilities with limitations. In the case of Windows, let's say that this square represents its user interface capabilities. If that was the case, then proportionally, this is what a web browser can do user interface-wise. A small fraction of what you can do on Windows today. And naturally, people want to enhance the user interface of the web browser so it can be more like their PC. And that's been what's happening. Most of what you read about in the news today concerning the web has to do with enhancing the user interface of the browser. So as an example, we have plugins. The Netscape browser has plugins, and the most popular one is probably the Macromedia Shockwave, where you can download it and see some animation in your browser. Play your director files in your browser just like you, of course, can on the PC. Another big one we've heard about is Java. Again, Java is an interpreted language that runs on the browser that will, is pretty close to being real out there, and it will let you do some things like animations and run little applets to do things on the browser, primarily to enhance its user interface, to try to make the surface area of that red square as close as possible to the surface area of the blue square. And that's where most of the action has been in Act 1 of the web. It has been to enhance the user interface. Now, all that's well and good, but we're starting to move into Act 2 of the web. Because what people are finding is that being limited to these static pages that people build by hand, they can't do some incredibly important stuff that they want to do on the web, especially if they're businesses. And people want to now focus on the server, which is becoming the limitation of what can be done, and focus on how to provide what we call dynamic services instead of just static publishing on the web. So again, the focus of Act 2 is going to be on the server. And what are the essential issues on the server? Let's take a look. Let's go back to static publishing and kind of recreate that symbolically. When you're going to do static publishing, you can think of it as taking a book or a brochure, in this case a brochure about Dodge cars, and like tearing out or cutting out the pages very carefully and putting them on an HTTP server. Now, you'd probably recreate them another way, but metaphorically this is what you do, and you could look at them all. And this works great for some things, but what happens if the page that the customer wants doesn't exist? What do you do then? Now, well, how could that be? How could it not exist? Well, let me give you a few examples. You can go to the Federal Express. Matter of fact, how many people have used the Federal Express package tracking website? Few. Okay, let me explain it to those of you who haven't seen it. You go to the Federal Express's website, the www.fedex.com, and you can get into package tracking. And if you've just sent a package or if somebody's just sent one to you, you can type in the package tracking number, and this application will go to, I believe it's 4 databases, find out where in the heck your package is, and then it will need to build a web page to send back to you so you can see it. How does it do that? They thought about hiring 10,000 gnomes to do this probably, but what they did instead was they have the computer build the web page dynamically. It didn't exist 1 second, and the next second it exists because the computer built it from all this data, sends it back to you, and you can see exactly where your package is. It's very cool. They have over 10,000 people a day tracking their packages this way now. Another example, of course, is one of the many web navigation products. You want to type in, WebObjects and find all the pages that on the web that have WebObjects. You can use Web Crawler as an example. It's a very good one. Well, obviously, your request needs to be answered in a custom way. They're not going to have a web page with every answer for every question. They'd have millions of web pages they'd have to build, and they'd have to update them each day. That's crazy. So what they do is they take your request, they search their index database, and then they build your response on the fly and send it back out to you. Now, it turns out to do this, these are very, very trivial examples of dynamic services, and yet they're very hard to build on the web today. They take months and months and months to build. So how can we make this a lot easier? Well, this is precisely what WebObjects does. WebObjects takes responses from customers, gets the information, and dynamically builds web pages on the fly, hands them back to the HTTP server so that they can be served out to the customer making the request. Where does it get the information to build those web pages? It gets it from a library or a database not of pages, but of components to pages. Pictures of cars, descriptions of cars, prices coming out of a flat file or a SQL or some kind of a database. It gets the information from components and data sources to build these pages on the fly. And what I'd like to do, and in addition to that, there's a scripting language involved so that you can define how you want inputs from the customer treated. You can define how all these components go together to build that page. Let me give you a demonstration now of something we built using this exact technology, which we call a virtual showroom. We happen to use the Dodge car showroom as an example. So let me show you what a dynamic website looks like. Okay. So I'm, by the way, using Windows 95 here, and this is a Netscape browser running on Windows 95. And what I've done is I've gone to the Dodge Virtual Showroom example site here that we have up on a server somewhere. And what this allows me to do is this shows me all the cars that Dodge makes. And so I'm going to select all of them for now. And here's all the price points from $8,000 to $90,000. And I'm going to select them all. And here's all the models, 2-door, 4-door, van, and truck. I'm going to select them all. And I'm going to sort by model type. And I'm just going to say display cars. Now, this information is going to be sent back to the HTTP server, which is going to pass it off to WebObjects, which is going to parse it all. And it's going to look up in its database all this information and then sort it by model type, build a dynamic web page, and send it back. And here we go. Here's the Avengers first, because they begin with an A. The Caravans, because they begin with a C. And we can get down here. There's a lot of caravans. Then there's neons, and then there's Ram trucks, right? And then here's Vipers. Okay, well, let's go back, and let's say I want to take all this information again and sort it by price and display the cars. Well, obviously, that's a completely different web page using the same data. And so WebObjects is building that web page now and sending it back to me. So now the neons are at the front because they're the cheapest, you know, and here's a cheap Ram truck and the cheapest Avenger, and you know, they're all mixed up, just sorted by prices, and probably if we go down here to the end, you know, we'll see that Viper. There it is. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back up to the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to pick, oh, come on. There we go. I'm going to pick that neon, and let's take a look and see what we can learn about this neon. So we click on it, and again, WebObjects builds this page on the fly. And I can say, well, that's interesting. I'd like to see what this car looks like in white. So I'll click on the white paint chip. Again, WebObjects is just going to go grab the white picture, rebuild the white page, and send it out to me. Or let's take a look at lime green. Again, let's rebuild the page and send it back to me. Now, you notice that we have the base price of $9,500 here, and we have options, so I haven't picked any. So let's go pick an option. And again, these prices were gotten right out of the database that's used to create this. And let's pick package B. And now what it's done is it's come back and built a page with a check mark on package B. It's added it to the option price. Somebody's done a calculation in the scripting language to add it to the option price and total it up. It's grayed out package 25B on the bottom because that's a subset, I guess, of package B. Let me pick package 25A too here. And so it'll build that web page and add it, again, with the total added. And so now I've got a $14,000 car. Let me go to leasing and take a look at what we can do there. What leasing's done is it's shoved the total in. I can put a down payment maybe of $5,000 here. Maybe I want to lease it over 60 months, and I can say calculate it, and it'll calculate my lease payments. So again, every one of these pages is being built on the fly because it couldn't possibly be built beforehand. There's too many permutations, too much data, and too much input from the user. So this is an example of a dynamic web page, a dynamic website, built with WebObjects, just like we saw, that I think is an order of magnitude more dynamic than anything on the web that we've seen today, and it was built in about 2 days. So that gives you an idea of the power of WebObjects. Now, we've gone even further than this. The WebObjects product and the virtual showroom I just showed you has some very sophisticated sort of flat file database technology in it, if you will, that you can use for this. We decided to extend it to make 3 separate WebObjects products, each building on the one below it. And so the second product in the WebObjects product family is WebObjects Pro. Now, WebObjects, via the scripting language, allows you to connect the rich set of objects that come with WebObjects. And it allows you to hook up to these flat file databases in a very nice, clean way. But it does not allow you to add additional objects, which is something that if you were, again, going to build an even more sophisticated dynamic site, you may want to do. And if you're going to add your own objects, you'll want to do it in a compiled language, because the scripting languages, while they're fast enough to connect objects together, they're not fast enough to really build objects with, because they run in an interpreted mode versus a compiled mode. So you need a compiled language, and you can create your own objects and add them right into WebObjects and then connect them all together with the scripting language. The third version of WebObjects goes even further and adds Next's extremely sophisticated enterprise database technology for connecting to very sophisticated enterprise databases and building very sophisticated applications using that data. So we have 3 versions: WebObjects, WebObjects Pro, and WebObjects Enterprise. And this, we believe, this kind of technology for building dynamic services is going to be the focal point of Act 2 of the web, in addition to Act 1, which is enhancing the browser. So let's take a deeper look at WebObjects. We view WebObjects as something that can turbocharge any website and turn it from a static publishing website into a dynamic services website. WebObjects works with all web browsers. It is server-side software, and it puts out standards over the web that work with any web browser. Works with all HTTP servers, Netscapes, any one of the public domain web servers, any web server. It layers on top of any HTTP server. Today it runs on Sun Solaris, Microsoft NT, and NextStep, and we have other versions coming soon. Now, we talked about the languages, the need for a scripting language, and the need for a compiled language in WebObjects Pro. And after thinking very deep thoughts about the languages, we've decided to go with Java. And so today we're announcing that we are going to be supporting both JavaScript from Netscape and Java in a compiled form originated in Sun fully. And here's what we're doing. JavaScript doesn't yet exist. The definition is not final, and we are working closely with Netscape on that definition, and we will have JavaScript as our scripting language as soon as it's ready, which we hope is going to be sometime this fall or early winter. Compiled Java also doesn't exist. The Java that we've all heard about is interpreted Java that runs on the browser. But we, for the server, need compiled Java for the speed. Because if we're serving all these browsers, we have to run a lot faster than any single browser. So we need compiled Java. And again, we're working very closely with Sun on that, and we will have that later on this year as well. And so what we have done is today, we have a very elegant script, a very simple scripting language called WebScript. And as soon as we can get JavaScript, we are going to move to that, which we believe will be certainly by Q4 of '96. And today, when you write objects to move in to WebObjects Pro, the compiled language is C, and we will move to compiled Java as fast as that is ready, working with Sun, which we also believe will be by Q4 of this year. You can download beta versions of WebObjects today. You can download the code and the virtual showroom demo also today. And we want people to take that, if you will, as the example program for WebObjects and build your own virtual showroom out of it or cut and paste out of it to build whatever dynamic website you want. And production versions are available the end of March. Here's the website. You can simply choose your platform, Windows NT, Solaris, or NextStep, and be guided through a very simple download script. Unfortunately, the traffic, or I guess fortunately, the traffic at our website yesterday went through the roof. We maxed out our T1s. There's been over 1,000 downloads already, and we are now moving the software out to alternate websites so that hopefully the traffic will be acceptable. And so if you have a little trouble downloading it, try a few more times. It might take you a few minutes to get through, but you will get through. And we're doing everything we can to get a T3 as fast as possible. Now, we've decided to take a new approach to pricing it next. We have decided to give away WebObjects. And this was a long and hard decision, but we think it is the right one because we really believe that every website should have this software. It is that good, it is that important. And so when the production versions of WebObjects are ready, you'll be able to download them for free, as well as the beta versions at the end of this month, or end of this quarter, right off our website. Now, how are we going to make money on this? We have thought of a way. And here's the way. The version of WebObjects that is free is the base version. It's an incredibly powerful version. We've often debated whether we're giving way too much away, but we've decided to go for it. But we have the other two versions. And the base version has full dynamic services and the scripting language in it. WebObjects Pro adds the ability to add custom objects with compiled code. And we're going to charge $2,999 for that. That also includes full support. And also, it includes full distributed objects. So if you want to distribute your computational objects over several machines, you can do that with WebObjects Pro. And the final high-end version for the enterprises, which includes our very sophisticated database technology, enterprise database technology, is about $25,000 and up. So we hope that WebObjects is going to really turn everyone on to dynamic websites, and then a lot of people will buy WebObjects Pro, and some in the enterprise will buy WebObjects Enterprise. And again, what we believe is that every website is going to go dynamic, and every website needs WebObjects. And so what we want to do by providing WebObjects for free is encourage everybody, after they download their server from Netscape, to go right to the next website and download WebObjects to layer on top of it and turbocharge that website free. To help people get started, we have formed a consulting group called Web Architects. And we do advanced website consulting. We have over 40 consultants on board now. We are one-stop shopping for advanced websites. We will do consulting on technology all the way up to completely building websites for customers, creatively, artistically, as well as the technology. We are fluent in major enterprise issues, getting data off of mainframes, etc. We really understand this stuff because that's what we've been doing for the last many years. We have 6 web engagements today with Fortune 50 companies. So this group is up and running, and we are doing some pretty sophisticated stuff. And we are ready to help you. If you have any needs, please get a hold of us. We have people we can get available very quickly. And now I'd like to focus on customers. Our goal is to build a series of highly visible wins, both external websites and internal custom applications using web technology in large accounts to build our reference accounts base. And we're pleased to announce that we already have several customers. A lot of them won't let us talk about them at this stage for competitive advantage reasons, but 4 of them have graciously allowed us to discuss a little of what we're doing with them today. The first one is Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch is building major internal custom applications using WebObjects today. And we have a whole team working with them, and I think some of those applications may get rolled out to consumers during the course of 1996. Another one that we can't say too much about is Motorola. They are building major internal custom web applications, again using WebObjects. Next one is DreamWorks. DreamWorks is building, again, some very sophisticated internal custom applications. And they've chosen to build them on the web for the reasons that we have discussed, the multi-platform issues, etc. And we're very pleased to have Dylan Kohler, who is in the animation technology division of DreamWorks, up here with us today. And what I'd like to do now is invite Dylan to come out and spend a few minutes telling us what they're doing with WebObjects. Thank you, Dylan.
That's great. I'm not as good at speaking on the fly as Steve is, so I'm actually have to consult my notes. Our task in technology at DreamWorks is to set up, starting with feature animation, what we see as the digital studio for the 21st century. To us, this means that we adhere to the strategy that we are in the business of making movies, games, and music, and that we aren't in the business primarily of writing software. To fit that strategy, we use whatever tools already exist and we can buy off the shelf. Where they don't exist, we're working with our partners, Silicon Studio, IBM, and Cambridge Animation Systems, to build them. The one exception we have made to this strategy has been for our production management system. This is the one subsystem we are developing in-house because we felt we alone were best qualified to translate our production experience into code. We still wanted to adhere as much as possible to the tenet that we write as little custom code as possible. To make this task even harder, our production schedule for the first film, Prince of Egypt, was moved up, so we needed to get the system up and going even sooner than before. We had proceeded a ways down the road of designing a traditional client-server system, and we were kind of slogging through the evaluation of what cross-platform development tools there were out there to help us with that. That's when we came across WebObjects, and we were delighted because we feel it fits our strategy very well indeed. By deciding to use the WebObjects framework as our delivery mechanism, we benefit from having the client side of our production management system already written for us. It's Netscape, Mosaic, and so on. That part just fell off of our schedule, and it was a relief. What's left is the custom server side of things, the kind of production management guts, and that's what we had intended on writing ourselves anyway. And now we're in a position to be able to draw upon EOF to tap into our database in a very clean and object-oriented manner. So WebObjects is enabling us to build a production management system elegantly and efficiently. We know the interface works, given that the numbers that there are out on the web already using it. And our users are able to benefit from changes to the system as soon as they're put up on the server. We like that. With our new plan, drawing on WebObjects, we will be up and running much sooner than before, and with, quite frankly, a design that we're much more comfortable with, that's going to orient us much better for the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Dylan. Another customer that is a long-time customer of Next's that has spawned a whole new area of relationship with us is Fannie Mae. We've been working with Fannie Mae for years. These guys are terrific. As you know, Fannie Mae, if you will, coagulates home loans from the lending institutions, packages them up, and sells them to the financial markets, and has enabled millions of people to own homes that would not normally be able to. In the process, they've become one of the most profitable corporations in the world. And we're very pleased that Marty Colburn, the Vice President of Technology Integration, could come out and be with us today from Washington, D.C., and tell us for a few minutes what they are also doing with WebObjects. Good. Marty, thank you.
Fannie Mae is a congressionally chartered shareholder-owned corporation, and our mission is very simple. It's to provide low and moderate income Americans with housing. And we've been successful at that, and along the way have made a few dollars. We're extremely excited about this technology and about Next technology. As Steve mentioned, we've been a long-time partner of Next. We began developing technology using their software and services in 1992. And just last year, we committed to a strategic relationship with WebObjects being just one aspect of that. Where we see the true benefit with the technology is looking at how we would develop a new paradigm at Fannie Mae where we could put applications out into lender shops as well as internally, and we expect to be able to do that with the WebObjects framework. Additionally, this shows a commitment to us from Next to continually change the development paradigm. The thing that initially excited us about Next technology was the robust nature of the technology and the ability to develop applications very quickly. This is just an evolution along that paradigm. So again, we feel like they're affecting the development environment in a positive way. It aligns very well with Fannie Mae's commitment to developing programs that continue to take cost out of home ownership. And in 1996, you'll see several applications coming out from Fannie Mae that take advantage of web technology. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Thank you very much, Marty and Dylan. We've got other customers as well for this, even though we're not yet shipping the products that we've been working with using the beta software, and I think you're going to hear about a lot of them over the coming next few months. What I'd like to do now is demonstrate WebObjects Enterprise for you and show you a real-world application using legacy enterprise data. So what we're going to do again is use WebObjects Enterprise all the way up at the enterprise level into major corporate data, in this case on a mainframe in England. And the company is OAG, the Online Airline Guide. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the book, Looking Up Airline Flights. They have it on a CD-ROM as well. They actually, again, get all of the airline flight information from all the airlines and then actually send it back out to the systems like Sabre and the other airline reservation systems. So they're kind of at the hub of this airline reservation wheel. And they actually offer the ability to look up flights and book flights now on 3270 terminals. And what they want to do is move that into this century from a UI point of view and move it on the web so that everybody has access to this. And they have chosen WebObjects to do that. So what I'd like to do now is show you that demo. So here we are. Let me go ahead and you can get the lights down on me so that's as visible as possible, please. So let's take a look at this. The first thing is it's going to ask me where I want to fly from and to. So I'm going to say, well, we're near San Francisco, so it's going to pick all the airports going to the mainframe database, and picking all the airports, I'll pick San Francisco International. And where I want to go, I'm going to say Chicago. And I'll pick O'Hare. And you see that it's rebuilt web pages now, putting these things at the top, right? So that's my source and my destination. Now, what WebObjects has done is it's built a page and downloaded a Java applet onto that page, and you're now seeing Java running on my Windows 95 with Netscape that was downloaded from WebObjects on a server somewhere over the net, because of course WebObjects can download Java applets today on the browser. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue ordering my tickets here. I probably have to pick now the day I want to fly. And so let's book it a little further ahead here so I can cancel this later on. February 29th, let's say. And I'm going to go ahead and maybe take an evening flight here. And again, it's rebuilding the page with evening, or maybe I'll go back to a morning flight. Okay, and let's go ahead for flights now. And it's going to go query the database, and here's all the flights that fly from San Francisco to Chicago on Thursday, February 29th in the morning. And I'm going to pick maybe this one here, leaving at 8:30. I'm going to pick that one, and hopefully it will come back and show me all the fares. I'm going to pick the cheapest one, although I don't want to pick the one I can't cancel, so I'll pick this one here. And so now it's confirming that flight. It's got my information here, and I will say purchase the ticket. So now it's going to London to this mainframe, so it might take a few minutes here, a few seconds. And there we go. There is my confirmation number. I've actually booked this ticket now. Every screen you saw was built on the fly based on my requesting more and more information or specifying more and more information. Now, what I'd like to do now is we've got a phone hookup here. Could we get United Airlines on the phone, please? Turn up the volume. You can tell that this is real, can't you?
United Premier Desk, Paula Green, how may I help you?
Hi, I would like to check a reservation, please. I have a confirmation number.
Okay.
Confirmation number is 6R1734.
For Job?
Yep.
Mr. Jobs?
Mr. Jobs, uh-huh.
Okay.
And what flight is that, and what day, and where is it going?
Okay, and what's your Premier number? It's not on here.
I don't have one.
That's flight 144 out of San Francisco at 8:35 in the morning.
And where's it going?
Chicago at 2:43.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So again, I hope that gives you a feel for the power of this. And I hope you agree that the website you just saw is orders of magnitude more dynamic than anything that exists on the web today. Every single one of those pages could not have been pre-created because it was based on information I was putting in or information in the database. If one of those flights was canceled, it would have been yanked and the page would have had to have changed. There was no, with 10,000 gnomes, you couldn't build every permutation of pages that you would need. They've got to be built on the fly. And again, this app was completed. This app's taken us about 2 weeks to write this. Most of it, frankly, was interfacing with the mainframe. The actual app took only a few days to write with WebObjects. So what I'd like to do now is ask you, if you would, to remember 5 things from today's presentation. The first one is that the second act of the web Act 2, is going to focus on the server. because we have to now pay attention to the server to move from simple static publishing to really dynamic services like you just saw, which is what customers really want and which is what businesses really want so that they can provide information and services and products over the web. So Act 2 of the web is going to focus on the server. Second message is WebObjects works with all web browsers and all HTTP servers, including, of course, Netscape browsers and Netscape servers, and we work very closely with Netscape to make sure that's all the case, and we're all standards-based. So it works with all web browsers and all web servers. Third, Java. We are 100% behind JavaScript and compiled Java on the servers. We are helping to enable those products to become real, and we will have them as soon as anyone does on the server side. And we believe that bringing those products to the server is going to be a major step forward. Next, we are providing WebObjects for free. We believe this is going to expose everyone to WebObjects, and so there's no reason for not taking a look at this revolutionary new technology. And lastly, we hope that it becomes a standard out in the marketplace and that everyone decides that they want to simply turbocharge their web server by coming to Next's website and downloading WebObjects for free on top of their web server and having the ability now to create truly dynamic websites very, very easily. And we hope that you're going to see our WebObjects, powered by WebObjects logo popping up on a lot of websites in the next few months as people build websites, even with the beta software, which is in quite good shape, that you can download today, and of course with the production software that you'll be able to download at the end of this quarter. Now there are 3 additional presentations that will follow this one by approximately, I think, 45 minutes or so. And I'd encourage you to stay around to hear them. Avi Tavanian, our Vice President of Engineering, is going to take us through more technical details of WebObjects. Jean-Marie Hulot is going to take us through in depth how simple WebObjects is to use. And Chris Chauvin is going to take us through really how to get started using WebObjects. So I'd encourage you, even though it's raining today, to stay around for those other presentations. Thank you very much for coming this morning. Thanks.